Let's get it Star Wars. Let's get it Star Wars in here. Let's get it Star Wars. Let's get it Star Wars in here.
A small rebel force has penetrated the shield and landed on Endor.
This is where the fun begins.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
This is Rebel Force Radio,
Your source for the Force.
Star Wars news and commentary.
With Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack.
I've seen Star Wars 500 times.
Star Wars #1.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
Now it's time for Rebel Force Radio.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Oh, there's a lot of rumors flying around. But I think that what that means is that we're on the verge of some announcements. I think when these rumors start to gain a little bit of heat and you hear conflicting stories, I think that just makes it ripe for, hopefully, some of these trades to get... Because, Lucasfilm doesn't announce anything anymore. They work through the trade publications, Variety and Deadline, and they'll say, sources say that this project is underway or this project has been canceled or something like that. So if you've been following on the socials, I'm sure you've seen some of these rumors. We're going to go through a couple of those for you this week here on Rebel Force Radio. Welcome back to your source for the Force and so much more. Yeah, we're going to try to help you navigate these rumors as best we can. Also coming up, we've got some new quotes from Daisy Ridley talking about her potential return as Rey. But is the movie happening? I don't know. We're going to talk about that. Plus, listener feedback. We've got a couple of really great voicemails looking forward to playing for you. Outrageous, unthinkable story this week. Yeah, you're not going to believe this one. Plus, Star Wars and pop culture and lots more to discuss. So thank you so much for hanging out with us this week. If you want to talk Star Wars, this is the place. And if introductions are in order and you're new to the program, welcome. My name is Jason, and with me, as always, my good friend and yours from Chicago, Jimmy Mack.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Star Wars fans. We're back. More Rebel Force Radio. Hey, remember last week when we started off the show and we were debating what's up with the price of Star Wars action figures at retail these days? And we were discussing the new Cobb Vanth 3 3/4 inch action figure that's going for retail at roughly $25 or something, which seems kind of unreasonable. And the question came up about the way that the prices have skyrocketed. It was thrown out there by you, inflation. And I said, no, it's good old-fashioned corporate price gouging. We heard from Travis Hoffman on the official RFR Facebook group, and Travis says, I just ran the numbers. A $2.99 action figure in 1980 would be, at 2024 pricing, $11.42.
Now that makes sense.
So, yeah, and you know what? I mean, I think it is price gouging simply for the fact that these corporations are all trying to make up money they lost during the pandemic or something. I don't know. But I'm just really mad about the Cobb Vanth action figure because I feel like it's totally a situation where the Hasbro Corporation or Lucasfilm or a combination of the two of them working hand in hand are really sticking it to collectors and, I mean, kids, really. These toy companies want to say it's kids who buy the toys, but they're making it so unaffordable even for adults who earn working wages and things like that.
Yeah.
And so I was just so mad about the Cobb Vanth situation. But I am a very weak man.
Oh, no.
When it comes to action. So here it is.
You weren't that
I
bad.
have it.
Oh, yeah, you weren't that
I have
bad.
it in my collection. Now, well, wait till you hear. Wait till you hear how this all goes down.
Okay.
I have the Cobb Vanth action figure. If you look at it, it's the same size as normal action figures. It has two blasters. It has a helmet. It has a jetpack. But there's really nothing special about this figure except it comes on an oversized backing card. So we're
the
basically
card. Okay,
paying.
so it's not just a big bubble, it's a big card.
Yeah, big bubble, big card.
See, I don't like the big card.
No, of course not. Nobody does. That card makes it inconsistent and non-standard. It's a freak in your collection.
Yeah, how are you going to buy a
This is
star case for that?
It's a freak. It's a freak. And even worse, I bought it online. It's a Walmart exclusive. I tried the old-fashioned way. I walked into the damn brick-and-mortar shop, and of course, the pegs were empty.
Yeah.
So I went online and ordered it online. And so now, thanks to tax and shipping, it's a $35 action figure. So
God.
what is the matter with me? I am a weak man.
But it's a great looking figure. It's a really good looking figure.
It's great. I like the character so much. I thought he was really great. And I started visualizing the action figure the moment I saw him on screen. So I have to do something to satisfy that itch. And Hasbro knows this. And so they're taking advantage of the adult collector now, a collecting base in which they kind of disowned for years and years, insisting it was only children buying these action figures. No, it's collectors and it's adults. And hey, remember over the summer when I made a stand against what I consider unfair price gouging when I went to the Disney park? And I saw there was a collector's pin that featured our very own Kitster. Where's Kitster? I finally find him.
Yeah, very rare to have Kitster merch of any kind.
But because the pin was retailing at $18, I said, no way, I'm not doing it. I'm finally taking my stand.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, this isn't my fault, but I have it.
Yeah, right. Someone sent that one to you. Yeah.
Yes, this is true. See little Kitster right there?
Look at that.
He's right there.
That's why you got to be an all-access member on Patreon.
Wait,
you can see this.
It's hard for me to do. There it is.
There we
right
go.
There's Kitster.
There we go.
Kitster on a fish Star Wars merch. It's about time. And yeah, I do need this in my collection. And I shouldn't have passed it up because I'm a collector. I don't collect this stuff to invest in it or anything like that. But I think I'm being some kind of big shot when I'm standing up to the corporation saying, no, I'm not going to pay your prices. But then my collection is lacking. And so thanks to Mike and his son, Logan, RFR regular listeners, they're great guys. They came out to Bristol to see us. I saw them at Chicago Fan Expo a few weeks ago. Both of them wearing RFR shirts. I love those guys.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's fair I bring this up because now people are going to see it in my collection and they're going to be like, hey, man, thought you were taking a stand against the evil corporation. Well, I mean.
Sell out. You see that?
Right. Exactly.
To the big D.
And I don't think I ever properly thanked those guys on the show, so I wanted to do that. And I do really appreciate it.
That's
in
awesome.
Kitster News, there is Kitster News. Did you know?
No, I didn't know.
Marvel Comics released Darth Vader number 50, and they're winding down that series for a while because they're going to focus on the post-Jedi era with the Battle of Jakku. And naturally, Darth Vader is not around during that time frame, so they're going to put the Darth Vader comic line on ice for a while. So they had their number 50 final issue. And I don't want to spoil it or anything, but throughout the run, this 50-issue run, adult Kitster and Wald made their presence known. And they had interactions with Darth Vader. Not knowing that it was Anakin Skywalker or anything.
Really?
And if Vader knew, he didn't tip anyone off, The series, and I didn't really care for the depiction of adult Kitster and Wald, nor did I really care much for their interactions with Darth Vader and everything. It just felt kind of weird that they were shoved in. But the series wrapped up with issue 50, and it also wraps up the story of Kitster and Wald. And
really? Was there a story that needed to be wrapped up there? I don't.
Well, it illustrates why they were present in the Vader story. It explains what their motivations were. You meet them and they just seem like, thieves, criminals.
Oh. I'm looking at a
But it
picture here on
turns out-
Wikipedia. Is this how he looks?
Yeah, that's adult Kitster. Yeah, he's bald with an Abraham Lincoln beard.
A little
No
salt and
mustache,
pepper
just
going on
beard.
in that beard. Yeah, just beard. So he has sort of an Amish look.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Like Gary Kurtz, Star Wars original trilogy producer, Gary Kurtz.
It's a statement when you
Yeah,
just do the beard.
It is. It really is. So there's adult Kitster, and his story gets wrapped up along with Darth Vader's. The events happening between Empire and Jedi have been told in the latest run of Marvel Comics, the last 50 issues, and we learn what the prime motivation was for Kitster and Wald. They returned to Tatooine. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And
all I'm
hijinks
gonna
ensue.
Yeah, there are some hijinks. But the story ends with Vader in his castle on Mustafar.
You know how dumb I am right now? I just clicked on the link because I'm like, oh, what does Wald look like when he gets older? What am I doing? Like, I don't know what an adult Rhodian looks like. Hey, he probably looks just like flippin' Greedo. What do I need to click on the link for this? Jeez.
Yeah, he does. He's a carbon copy of old Greedo, that's for sure. But I was pleased with the way they wrapped up the Kitster and Wald story. I was very pleased.
And you said it ends in Vader's castle?
Yes. Because Kitster and Wald have something Vader wanted, and he sent Ochi from Bestoon.
Yeah, right.
The character who gets brought up in The Rise of Skywalker. He's in these books, too. He's a real smart ass, too. He's kind of a punk.
Ochi.
He reports back to Vader at the end of the story. And Vader's, I don't know if I'm bordering on spoilers, but I'm going for it anyway. So if you haven't read the book and you don't want to hear how it all ends, then skip ahead 30, 40 seconds.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
All right.
Ochi returns to Mustafar to report to Vader and return what Vader wanted. He said, did you kill them? And he said, no. I let them go. It was weird. When I came up on them, they were talking about Anakin Skywalker. It was so strange. And he's like, do you want me to go back and kill him? And Vader, thinks about it for a second. He goes, unnecessary. Anakin Skywalker is dead. And he just sits there. And that's how it is.
Okay. All right. When you said it ended in Vader's castle, I thought with Wald and Kitster there.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. Okay.
That would have been pretty wild.
Yeah. Court jesters or something?
Inquisitors.
Oh, Inquisitors. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you give them the spinny lightsaber, dual-bladed lightsaber, send them off on missions. Hey, if Lucasfilm is searching for a streaming show idea, I think what I'm presenting here is solid gold. Kitster.
I hope they're listening.
A Star Wars story. Kitster and Wald. A Star Wars story.
Kitster and Wald. I love it. It could be like the Star Wars version of The Odd Couple. Wald's a real neat Nick. And Kitster's a slob.
Yeah. Kitster's Are you sure it wouldn't be the other way around?
I don't know. After that beard looked pretty manicured. So he may be the neat guy.
The fussy one?
The fussy one. Yeah. The fussy one.
All right. So that's your latest Kitster update. That's your Kitster update for 2024, let's just say. Your annual Kitster update. We'll check in with Kitster this time next year.
There's this whole movement now starting, the Where's Kitster movement.
This is so wizard and
Where's Kitster?
how do you get so lucky?
Kitster.
Finish the race, of course.
Do you know who Kitster is?
No.
That's all right.
Where is Kitster?
Where is Kitster?
You must contact me.
Play back the entire message.
What message?
Message after the message.
The Emperor commands you to make contact with him. It's a trick. Send no reply.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Jimmy. This is Eric from Phoenix. And you guys on this week's episode were talking about what pets would you want from the Star Wars universe. And it made me think back to Salt Lake FanX 2014. We were able to attend that. In EU, Star Wars EU author extraordinaire Kevin J. Anderson was there. And at his panel, he gave this whole plot line he had given Lucasfilm for the backstory of the Ewoks. And for him, they were pets, a species, a rich species, had them as pets on this luxury liner. The luxury liner had some mechanical difficulty, crash landed on Endor, and the Ewoks became feral and repopulated Endor. And so that was an official kind of backstory that Kevin J. Anderson had come up with. He approached Lucasfilm for it, and basically, they didn't go with it, of course, because we haven't heard any of that. But made me think of that when you guys were talking about pets and Swank specifically wanting a baby Ewok as a pet. So anyway, love the show. Keep up the great work, and may the Force be with you.
I like that backstory, not just because
Did
it
you
validates.
say baby Ewok? I'm sorry. Did you say baby Ewok or did you just say Ewok?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like if you're going to get a dog, I mean, you got to you want the adorable puppy phase. So, yeah, I might have said baby Ewok, but it's not like I was going to abandon it when it got into adulthood. I'm not going to leave it on the side of the road. Can you imagine the Ewok? By the way, I was looking at some Ewok photos, and I always felt this way, even as a kid. I really feel like with Wicket, like they tried really hard to make Wicket as cute as possible, and he's adorable. The rest of the Ewoks, not that cute. Like Wicket's really cute. And he just looks like there's more care and detail in the mask and the lips and the nose, all the, and then this is like the hero prop. And then the rest of these guys, these are like, there's just not as much. Yeah. They all got their smushed in faces and everything. But I wouldn't be that picky. I still want the Ewok. This is an interesting idea that Kevin J. Anderson had. But I can, it's like, okay, well, if you left a colony of dogs or cats, they wouldn't eventually build homes and manage to create weapons and spears and things like that. So I'm guessing, the fact that they can fashion weapons tells me that they are probably, they're not pets. They're not. I've learned my lesson, folks, but I do appreciate the attempt here from Eric from Phoenix to sort of help justify my my lust for enslaving an Ewok.
Now it's gone up a notch.
Yeah.
But as far as Wicket being cuter, obviously they wanted him to look great because he got a lot of screen time. But I think Wicket is also a youth. He's an Ewok youth. But all right, well, as far as Wicket being cuter, obviously they wanted him to look great because he got a lot of screen time. But I think Wicket is also a youth. He's an Ewok youth. So he still has his good looks. I'd like to see him when he's, 40. He probably doesn't look that great. We sort of did see him, I guess, at the end of Rise of Skywalker, and he looked identical to what he looks like here.
Yeah.
So some reverse aging going on with Wicket compared to some of his Ewok compatriots. My favorite Ewok is
we don't really know how old the Ewoks are, right? I don't know that we have.
Not necessarily, no. My favorite Ewok is Paploo. He always has been. He's the one who steals the speeder bike. And the reason I always like Paploo is I can always identify him immediately because he always has some red feathers up in his headpiece. So, hey, there's Paploo. Otherwise, a lot of Ewoks do look the same.
What?
I hope that's not something that's illustrating like a
can't say that.
Sense of ignorance on my part, but you drop me off there, and I'll call every one of them. I'll call every one of them Wicket, and won't even think about it. Hey, Wicket, what's going up? I'm not Wicket. I'm Paploo. Who cares? I would say to him.
Well, Chief Chirpa was pretty easy to spot.
He was the one smoking a pipe.
Yes,
which was not
and
common.
then Low Gray, the medicine man with the little hat, You know, like the bird hat.
It was like a skull. Yeah, like a bird skull.
Like a bird skull of some sort. Yeah. So I can those I can tell apart. But look, like these four that I have up here on the screen now, you know, they're just they're non-playable characters. They're totally just army builders.
Right.
Ewok army builders.
The one on the left, he looks like he spent a lot of time on the street. And it looks like he's holding a baseball bat. Like he just has a Louisville Slugger. They didn't even care about the background, like what they were holding.
Oh.
So I'll give him a baseball bat. Give him a hammer. You know,
they didn't notice the potato in the asteroid field. They're not going to notice the baseball bat in a Endor forest.
True. Now, where do you stand on the enhanced special edition Ewoks that blink? Do you like that?
I like the blinking.
I like that too.
I like the blinking. Yeah. I think it adds extra. I mean, they did it with. Don't they do it with Greedo as well?
Does Greedo blink? I don't think Greedo blinks.
Does Greedo not blink? I thought they did it with another species other than just the Ewoks.
No, I don't think.
But
Greedo
I might
really
be misremembering
blinks.
that.
I do know that Rhodians have eyelids. Because in the Clone Wars, Padme was friendly with a Rhodian senator she called him Uncle Ando, I think. And he would close his eyes and squint his eyes and stuff. So he was a Rhodian with eyelids. Maybe not all Rhodians had eyelids. You never know. Species in Star Wars can be very inconsistent. You have some Ewoks looking cute and some look absolutely fugly. And let's not even talk about the Gungans. Because what's up with Boss Nass? He's a Gungan?
Yeah.
Why do they all look so freaky with the eye stalks and everything? And then this guy's calling himself a Gungan. He's a big frog. And what did he do?
Yeah.
He overthrew the Gungan society and named himself boss over all the, and not a single Gungan noticed. Hey, this guy isn't a Gungan. He's a frog. This guy is a froggin. And, you know, nobody notices. That's why the Gungans are morons.
Yeah. Well, I've wondered about the Boss Nass thing, and you'll hear George and people say that, well, you know, it's to show the diversity. Look, there's tall people and short people in real life and heavy people and thin people.
I get it.
But you're right. There's no one in all of Otogunga that looks like Boss Nass.
Not a single
He's
one.
the only one. So don't tell me this is about diversity because he's the only one.
No, there's nothing diverse about Boss Nass. It's a freak show is what it is. It's a frog who invaded the Gungan society and convinced them that he was their boss. Where does this happen?
Yeah.
Where does this happen? I'm going to find a den of wild dogs and just hook up with them and be like, hey, I'm a dog too, but I'm the boss dog, okay? I'm the alpha. I'm the alpha male here. You know what they'll do? They'll chew into my jugular vein. I'll be spraying blood all over the place because it doesn't work. Why didn't the Gungans go for Boss Nass's jugular when they had a chance? Then he became boss, fortified himself with these lieutenants and soldiers and gave himself a throne.
Yes, men like Captain Tarples. You know Tarples. He'd be any dog. He'd be any,
Tarples is like, I'm getting too old for this shit.
But we've got another voicemail. Let's see what this one brings.
Hey, Jimmy. Hey, Jason. This is Spencer from Vancouver, longtime listener, first-time caller. And just wanted to talk about Star Wars Outlaws, the latest video game from Ubisoft that just came out. And it's a game where you play as an outlaw, you know, like Han Solo-esque, but as this girl named Kay Vess. She's kind of cool. And I just think the game is brilliant, and I haven't heard you guys mention it. I don't remember, so it's an awesome game. I've been playing Sabacc, like, all the time. Like, playing Sabacc against a Zabrak, a Twi'lek, and some weird girl. Like, it's just cool, you know? That's part of your dream when you hear about Han gambling or whatever, you know? somehow I have Lando's cape and outfit in my ship. I have no idea how I got that. That was part of the Ubisoft Ultimate Edition or something. I'm not sure, but this game, I just think it rocks. The stealth-based action game, and you can choose like easy, medium, hard, kind of like the Cal Kestis games. I just think it's really cool, and I would love to hear you guys talk about it or have somebody on who has played through it a bit, because it's a really great piece of Star Wars material. Like, it's very Return of the Jedi-esque in the theming. It's very like, just how it's like, it's dark and romantic, not in a romantic way, but like dark and 80s sci-fi-esque with the orc pig, the guards that Jabba has. It just feels like that, it's set between episode 5 and 6, so it makes sense. And it's just really cool. So I'd love to hear you guys talk about it sometime, and then what's with you.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, I have been hearing, there, even this is getting caught up in the whole storm of the YouTube wars and people wanting this game to tank, and everybody talking about, that it's a big bomb, it's a big flop. I don't know. I don't follow gaming that closely. All I do is I scroll through my YouTube feed and I see a bunch of controversy about it and a lot of noise. But when I actually hear from somebody like our caller here that's actually played it, everybody seems to be pretty pleased with it. Like, it's a pretty, from what I understand, non-offensive Star Wars story. So I would love to know more about the actual plot of it and what the official canonized, when these movies or when these games would come out, there was a time when they would put maybe like a comic book adaptation or a novelization that would give you sort of the official version of events and how it fits into the canon. I don't see them doing that anymore. I think Force Unleashed might have been one of the last ones. I don't think they've done it with the Cal Kestis games, have they?
No, there's been some spin-off stories, but nothing really of any huge substance or anything. Not a direct adaptation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't you play
Have
Outlaws?
you played this?
I have not played Outlaws, but I have an excuse.
You're still on, yeah.
That's my excuse. I'm still Cal Kestising it. So I've been doing it with a lot more urgency, because I do want to play Star Wars Outlaws. The footage I've seen looks great. The reviews I've heard have been all pretty good. Some people complain about the stealth nature of some of these missions, where you always have to be hiding or something, I guess. I don't know what they mean by that.
Oh, is that what people are complaining about? The mechanics of the game?
Well, if it's on YouTube, they could be complaining about anything. And some of the things they're complaining about is just stuff in their heads, probably. What's some of the controversy? People upset because it's a female protagonist? Is that the problem?
I don't know. I don't even click on the videos, to tell you the truth, because I'm kind of burn out on a lot of this stuff, to be honest with you.
Yeah, right.
After the Acolyte, I was just like, peace out, man. I don't want. I just don't need any of that anymore.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you, bro.
That's probably it. And I think some of the gameplay there, some of the hardcore gamers, I think have had concerns, and maybe there are some bugs in it. That does happen.
Right.
But then they jump on the whole, Star Wars is dead bandwagon. And here's another example of Kathleen Kennedy. And,
I don't know. It looks like a really cool game. I just know that some of the developers have made some announcements about maybe not making the right decisions when they were programming this thing. And they've introduced patches that have gone out there to sort of fix some of their short-sighted nature or mistakes or whatever.
So there could be some real legit,
there could be,
gripes about the way it plays. That would be annoying.
I don't think the female protagonist is really something that is upsetting to people. I certainly hope not. I mean, games like Tomb Raider have been massive successes featuring female protagonists played by dudes and chicks, and so it doesn't matter.
Right.
But I think the sales haven't exactly been what they desired.
Yeah, I'm seeing that. I'm seeing a lot of reports of that as well.
Yeah.
So they're putting the tombstone in Star Wars gaming now.
Well, I just think a lot of people are like me, and they can never finish Jedi Survivor. And they're going to be playing it well into their senior years. That's how I feel about Jedi Survivor. I've been on this planet Kobo for the better part of the last year and a half. And I think I started making some real strides lately. I got to the top of this tower. I killed some weird High Republic Jedi with a double-bladed lightsaber and felt pretty good about it. This all happened last night. Yeah. Wendy came in, she goes, I thought you went to bed hours ago. I'm like, I've never been this far in the game before. I've never been this. It took me like 2 days to get to the top of this tower. So I'm still plugging away at Jedi Survivor.
Good for you.
It's one of the most exciting, awesome video games I've ever played. And the fact that it's Star Wars just pushes it over the top.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Maybe you could start a new Patreon show of Jimmy Mack playing as Cal Kestis. And he says, no, it's not happening. No. You're not going to be one of those gamer YouTubers that sits there for 3 hours and people just tune in and watch you stream your adventures there.
Maybe someday.
Maybe
something to think about.
Retirement.
Yeah, maybe. I'll do something like that. You know, be like one of those hot gamer chicks that everyone, I'll fire up the Insta.
Yeah.
Put pictures of myself playing video games. And no, if I did that, it would be just a nonstop barrage of profanity. I would even invent profanity sometimes when I play video games.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I don't know if people really want all of that.
Well,
anxiety.
while you're waiting for that, you can check out what is on over at Rebel Force Radio on Patreon. There's always something new on Patreon.
Always.
Yeah.
Always. The RFR Q&A keeps coming every week. And this week we have RFR VIP favorite Joe Dallas. Joe is on the show, and we talk about music. We talk about Star Wars. We talk about the Crystal Foxes of Crate.
Oh, yeah.
That's
and how they wind chimey.
Right. Joe actually has a piece of merchandise from Star Wars Celebration Chicago. He has a stuffed crystal fox, like a stuffed animal toy. Yeah. And so I started looking for that naturally because now I'm like fixated on these things because Robbo from Chicago left us a voicemail.
Yep.
And says, what pet do you want? I land on the Crystal Fox of Crate, and now I really actually want one. See, the way that this show influences my day-to-day existence is off the charts.
There you were, minding your own business, not thinking at all about the Crystal Fox. And then Rob gets a bug up his you-know-what and decides to send us a voicemail. Next thing you know, Mac's on eBay looking for these. I know how that goes.
There's very limited merch available for the Crystal Foxes of the Crate. Very limited. No action figures. You have the stuffed toy that Joe got at Star Wars Celebration Chicago. Exclusive. And now those things are going on the secondary market for anywhere from like $80 to $150. Not paying that for a stuffed animal. Okay.
You know, the last two prequel films, I mean, especially Rise of Skywalker, very little merchandise for Rise of Skywalker when you think about it. I mean, like, how do we still not have an action figure of Palpatine on that crane?
There's not a Finn action figure from Rise of Skywalker.
Right.
Why do they treat Finn so poorly? It's like he was hyped as possibly one of the next Jedi to lead the Order in early promotion for The Force Awakens. He duels with a saber. Well, you know, for what it's worth.
Right.
He fights with Kylo in the forest, gets injured, and then that's it for old Finn. Nobody cares about Finn no more. He never got to reach his potential. They never even made a 3 3/4 inch Finn action figure for the Rise of Skywalker. To my count, they've made 6 action figures based on characters from the Rise of Skywalker.
That seems about right.
That's not right. That's wrong. That's very wrong. How could they let a major motion picture release come and go with only 6 action figures dedicated to those characters. We never got knights. So we got one Knight of Ren. There's like 6 of them.
Yeah.
Maybe 7 of them. How do you not create those?
I don't know. And it didn't have its own line. I mean, the last dedicated line for a film was the Solo. The Solo line. Now that had actual, branded packaging for the Solo film. But that was it.
That was it. Well, Star Wars Resistance came after that, and that had their own dedicated line as well.
Well, yeah, that's right. Resistance
The crappy animated series that nobody watched had its own dedicated line of action figures. Meanwhile, a major motion picture release, The Rise of Skywalker, which, by the way, did earn over $1 billion at the box office. Not anything to sneeze at. Definitely a huge release.
You know what I wonder? I wonder.
Lucasfilm just didn't merch.
I wonder
the marketing department.
I wonder if that production didn't come along so fast and some of the decisions were so rushed at the last minute, like having Palpatine even in it. Because we know that it can take really like a minimum of 2 years to get those action figures, those 3 3/4 inch action figures from concept out on the market. 2 to 3 years it takes. It's a long pipeline.
Maybe not 3 years, but like
maybe not 3, but it's close to 2. It's close to 2.
A year and a half to 2, yeah.
Yeah. I would say sort of the rushed nature of the production of the film coupled with the shroud of secrecy probably just got Hasbro throwing their hands up and saying, well, we're just going to have to do, get this stuff out after the fact. And then the movie didn't do very well. I mean, I should say financially it did all right. Right. Financially it did okay, but as far as it lighting Star Wars fans on fire and being a big hit with the kids, because this was, of course, back in the time when they still believed that kids and gift givers were the primary buyers of action figures. Remember, it's only been just recently that they've accepted the truth. But anyway, what does this have to do with Joe Dallas and the Q&A and the Crystal Foxes and RFR on Patreon?
So I went down the rabbit hole looking for Crystal Fox merch, and there is a Funko Pop. So I found the last one remaining on Amazon, and I bought that with a couple of other action figures.
That Cobb Vanth? Oh, no, that was Walmart.
The Vanth came from the evil Walmart.
Yeah.
The rest of them come from the evil Amazon. They're all evil. Don't ask me why. They just are.
Yeah.
Because they always take my money from me. And I'm a sad sack of a collector who cannot even make a stand when it comes to a freak show carded action figure like this Cobb Vanth on the oversized card. And I will be opening this, but not right now. Not right now. I kind of want to, though. I'm sort of picking at it.
Oh,
but I'm going to save it for later.
Picking at the bubble.
No, I'm saving it for later. So I found a Funko Pop of the Crystal Fox of Crate. And as far as I can tell, that's it with the merch based on those foxes. And the more I think of them, the more I really start liking them. So I'll have a Crystal Fox of Crate Funko Pop in my studio this time next week with a full review. And so me and Joe talked about them. We talked music. We always talk about Q*bert and music and Big Brother and music. And we share stories from some of our backstage hijinks at various events like the MTV Music Video Awards and America's Got Talent. So that's our latest RFR Q&A. Plus previous editions of Q&A feature guys like Dominique from Quebec, who has a nice discussion with me about growing up as a Star Wars fan in Canada. We compared notes. He tells us about some differences between the French dub of the original Star Wars compared to the English dub that we're all familiar with. So, and we talk about Mog.
Oh.
There's always room for Mog.
Right.
So that's a lot of fun. Also, very recently, Scott St. Louis was on the show, and we talked about our most favorite immersive Star Wars video games and reveal our top 10 list, or top 5 list. I'm sorry, top 5 list. And that's what it's all about. Plus the Babu Freaks, RFR RPG. It's all happening. Babu Freaks, we talk about a Star Wars garage sale that happened.
Really?
Do you want to guess whose house it happened at?
One of the freaks?
No. He's freak adjacent.
Was it Chris Mocked?
Of course it was.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
He was my first guess. Yeah.
He had a Star Wars garage sale. Nothing but Star Wars. And Tyler Page was there.
Is he getting rid of his collection? What's going on? Thinning the herd?
Just trying to make some space, one of those things.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's got so much, And it sounds like a really interesting event and something that might have a future. So we talk about Chris's Star Wars garage sale, among other things. And there's all kind of wacky stories.
Did Chris charge people to go to the garage sale?
No.
Okay. All right.
But it could be an event requiring admission in the future. Because I've been brainstorming a lot.
Oh, I see. So this has got All right. This has got your fingerprints on it. Okay.
Well, his garage sale did not. But I was so excited about hearing about it that I started to think about ways that Rebel Force Radio could maybe hijack the event and make it something amazing. I don't know. I don't know. But I am open to...
Like an old-fashioned swap meet, right? Is that what you're thinking, where everybody gets together? Okay. That would be fun. Yeah. That would be fun. We can trade. We can sell. I like it.
Yeah, right. Maybe get a band out there. Yeah. I'm blowing it up now, It's going to become this massive event. Cops are going to shut it down.
All I wanted to do is just have a garage sale. Jimmy Mac shows up. No, that's not Chris. Chris doesn't ever just want to do something simple. Chris has always got to blow things up too. So I'm sure.
Well, what I like about him is he just does it. He
does do it, doesn't he?
And so I like that. I like his go-getter attitude when it comes to Star Wars. So that's what's going on Patreon. It's such a great way to connect with an incredible community of Star Wars fans. We're offering bonus podcasts, full show video, early bird releases, ad-free shows. And did you know that if you support RFR on Patreon annually, you can save 10%? So if you want to become a member, you can choose a tier. And if you pay annually, you will save 10%. So check us out at patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio. And I guarantee you will have a good time and you will connect with other Star Wars fans. The discussion board is great. And everyone is very positive. There's not, you may have seen the official RFR Facebook group. We keep it a little raw over there. on Patreon, it's a little more, it's a more civilized age, let's just say. We take our blasters with us when we go to the official RFR Facebook group.
Man.
But when we're in RFR on Patreon, when we're there, it's a more civilized age. So join us for the civility, patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio.
Your source for the Force.
I have good news for you, my lord.
That's good news. Come closer, I have good news.
All right. Well, we're going to start things off with some news about the Rey movie. Maybe. So Daisy Ridley was interviewed recently for the French version of the premiere. Used to be a magazine. Now it's a website. That's how it is. So the folks over at Premiere, they've got this interview with Daisy. Now, I got to say, this was translated. So this was originally reported in French, and it's been translated. But the translation's pretty good. Sometimes when you do that, the quotes seem kind of weird, because the Google or whoever does the translation. But I think this translation is really good. Maybe this is AI. They're better at it now. But anyway, so this is, like I say, the French version of Premiere. A few days ago, Daisy Ridley left the Deauville Festival with the New Hollywood Prize, and it was a perfect opportunity to spend a few minutes and ask her about the stars. So the question was, one of the questions was, your return to Star Wars will be very different from your arrival. By the time Episode 7 came out, the franchise had been dormant in theaters for decades, while New Jedi Order, they're using that as the name here, Jim, in the article.
Yeah, but that's just what.
That's just so they have a handle. You got to have something.
Right, and that's sort of how Lucasfilm presented it, at least as far as what they call that part of the Star Wars timeline. They're referring to that as the New Jedi Order. So I don't know if it'll necessarily stick. Yeah, it's a new era for the next saga. So it's a saga. New Jedi Order. Yeah.
So they ask, while New Jedi Order will arrive in a world where Star Wars is absolutely everywhere. She says, my thinking on the subject is very simple. If I didn't think the story was worth telling, I wouldn't have come back. So she's not doing it because it's everywhere. She's doing it purely because the story is such. Now you're saying, well, is there a script? To our knowledge, there is no approved final script, but there is a concept. And so when she's talking about this story that she feels passionate enough about to recommit herself to the role, she's talking about the story. And ever since then, there have been I think several scripts that have been written or attempted to be written. Nothing settled on yet.
By a couple of writers, no.
So the interviewer asks, is there any contract that would have forced you to come back? Lucasfilm is known, George was known to try and get his actors committed multiple films in advance. She says, no, I was simply asked if I wanted to do it based on an idea without the script being written yet. But if I hadn't been convinced by the concept, the film wouldn't have seen the light of day. Well, Daisy, it still hasn't seen the light of day. It's kind of, the film wouldn't have seen the light of day. Well,
yeah.
But she says,
hey,
I took
Daisy,
the time
welcome to the post-sequel trilogy Lucasfilm era,
Right.
Light of day. No, what she's saying is that if she wasn't on board, they would have stopped developing the concept right then and there. That's what she's saying.
They needed her. Obviously, if you're doing a Rey movie, you got to have Rey.
For sure.
I took the time to think about it for a day, and I said to myself that I had a great time on these films. This new adventure seemed fun to me. Why say no? Also, there was a strange coincidence. 2 people told me in the same week that they would love to know what Rey was doing now. I had no idea that there was interest. People really like Rey. I think this new film will be exciting and will advance the franchise in an interesting way. So here she is, gets this opportunity. She's thinking about it, and just randomly on the street, she encounters 2 people that ask her, what do you think Rey's up to now? One of those may have been Kyle Newman. We haven't been able to confirm it, but we do know that Kyle has been hanging with Daisy Ridley. And so who knows? Would we count Kyle? Because I think he asks just about everybody he meets, what's going on with Rey? What do you think's going on with Rey? The mailman shows up at Newman's house and he asks that question.
Now, I could see Kyle proposing the question, but he would only propose it to himself. And then he would see Daisy and tell Daisy exactly what Rey is up to. That's probably how, if that interaction did happen, then Kyle probably didn't say, man, I'd love to know what Ray is up to now. Kyle would say, Daisy, listen, here's what Ray's doing, okay? I got it all figured out. And he'd walk her through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Maybe that confused her. Maybe she thought that was the pitch for the film that Lucasfilm is developing. And
I think it'd be great.
Like, no. Kyle would be like, no, I was not like a messenger or anything. I came up with that myself on the ride over.
In the car.
Yeah.
Just now. So they finish up here by asking Daisy herself, have you ever thought about what happened to Rey? What would have happened to her after Rise of Skywalker? She says, I didn't care until I asked. I felt like the story had wrapped up really nicely. So Rey's return had to be worthwhile, and I think it is. I'm also in a very different position. I was 21 when I did the first one. I'm 32 now. Boy, that seems crazy. She was so young,
really?
21, and she's 32. Right. She says, so I have a lot more experience on set. It's very exciting to imagine how my current life will affect the character. So I like that. I like that she's approaching it from the standpoint of playing an older, more mature Rey, because you have an older, more mature Daisy Ridley, who, I think is going to bring that experience and that maturity to the screen as this character. So I'm in. I hope they do it. I know there are people out there saying, well, who asked for a Rey movie? I'm asking for just about any Star Wars movie. Just give me a new Star Wars movie to go to the theater and see. As long as it's good,
right.
What do I care what era it's in or who the characters are? Just make it a good story.
I look at it like this. Daisy Ridley is still in her prime. And I think Star Wars would be wise to take advantage of that instead of waiting until she's like 60 to bring her back. Get her while she's still recognizable as the character and can pick up from where things left off. One of the biggest crimes that George Lucas committed with the original trilogy was putting the whole thing on ice forever.
Right.
And then by the time that everyone was, it was long overdue. By the time the sequel trilogy finally went into production, and you're bringing back Carrie and Mark and Harrison. Carrie and Mark, at that point in time, were not necessarily ready for prime time anymore. Harrison had kept himself busy, kept himself in shape, and maintained his status as a successful Hollywood actor. But let's face it, Mark and Carrie had fallen off the map completely at that point. Do you want the same thing to happen with Daisy Ridley and John Boyega, for that matter, or Oscar Isaac? No, man. Too much time. My time, your time, our listeners' time, the studio's time, Daisy's time, all the actors, everyone. We have dedicated so much time and energy to this thing. So what? The sequels weren't what you wanted them to be. Who's going to say Daisy Ridley was a bad casting choice? Who's going to say that? Does anyone think that? I thought she was perfect for the role that was created for her.
Everybody loved Rey. After Force Awakens, everyone loved Rey. Everyone loved Finn. They loved Poe. They had very successfully established a new trio of heroes in the Star Wars universe, and we couldn't wait to find out what happened next.
They did it via casting. The chemistry was there. It's just unfortunate that the story let the characters down ultimately at the end. And it became hyper-focused on Rey at the end. Even Adam Driver was largely pushed to the background.
Yeah, he really was.
By the end. It's because there was no consistent path for these guys being developed. It was a game of pass the baton going on between Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams. And it just shows in the stability of the final story. There's a lack of stability.
But the mistake that people some people make, I'm sure no one listening to this show, is they start to blame the actors and the story, the like you say, the story. That's really well said. That's exactly what it did. The story let the characters down. And so for some, they look at it and they see, oh, it was maybe a bad performance or something like that. And I feel like the actors, all of them, especially Adam Driver, who from an acting standpoint, I think is the real star of the sequel trilogy. I think he's a tremendous actor. That none of them mailed it in. They all took it absolutely, I think, seriously, and were committed to every line. You know, look at Mark Hamill, who has gone on record many times talking about how passionately he objected. He said, "I hate everything you're doing to this character. You would never know it by watching Mark's performances in those films. Never know.
Really one of the best performances of his career.
I would agree with that for sure.
Despite you think, oh, they did his character wrong or things like that. Not my Luke, Jake Skywalker, yada, yada. I mean, these are things Mark himself has said. But at the end of the day, he turned in one of his strongest acting performances on screen from his entire career, I think.
I agree.
I haven't seen too many of Mark's post Star Wars stuff, like post The Last Jedi stuff.
I saw him in the Kingsman movie.
Kingsman, right.
And it was very much a character part. It wasn't a leading role like Luke Skywalker was. But he's fine. He's a great character actor, obviously. No, that would be a tough thing if you were. Of course, the millions of dollars he was being paid would certainly make up for it.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Cynicism aside, it would have been very easy to mail it in.
Yes.
Especially when you had so many misgivings about the story and your character, to be cynical and mail it in. But he didn't. And you're right. He nailed a great performance. And none of it, even Billy D, who I think sleepwalks through life these days. I think he turned it on for Lando in Rise of Skywalker. I think that is one of the things that kind of hurts the most about those movies because they're visually gorgeous, fantastic looking movies, production values just off the charts, good performances, really good performances. But the story is just lacking. It just lacks.
It's
and
haphazard.
Like you say, it really lets. It's not just about letting the fans down, but in my opinion, I know that it has its proponents and all of that. And if you love those movies, I'm not trying to tell you not to love them or love the stories. For me and I think for you, Jim, not to speak for you, the story itself just let us down.
Yeah, because it was all over the place.
Yeah.
And we know a lot about how the sausage gets made, and that doesn't help us out very much as audience members because we get too analytical about it. But, I mean, I just try to stay focused on the story and the lore, and when I am trying to navigate my way through it and find myself hitting dead ends and potholes and sinkholes, it's hard. It's very, very hard to.
I like that, a plot sinkhole.
Yeah, it's a sinkhole.
Just a plot
sometimes,
hole.
Sometimes, plot hole, plot pothole, plot sinkhole. Yeah, it's a bumpy ride sometimes. Even if you're in a land speeder with no wheels, it's still a bumpy ride. So the thing, though, that I won't diminish the sequels over is definitely Daisy Ridley's performance. I thought she brought a lot of energy and emotion to the character. I really did. I mean, she did a great job. And especially when you match her up with some of the acting performances from the prequel trilogy, Hayden Christensen. They were all very stiff. Even Sam Jackson. We love Sam Jackson. Sam brings a lot of gravitas. He brings a lot of energy to tons of his roles, and he seemed very just flat.
Yeah, like they were all holding back. They were very much
holding back.
Even Yoda, even Frank's vocal delivery of the Yoda lines are very, like you say, flat. Not very dynamic, not a lot of range. There's a tone and a vibe. Now, I'm not going to suggest that was accidental or it was it was bad acting choices. That was all very, very carefully crafted by George Lucas. He was trying to create. He was really trying to create such a distinction between the eras and the film's tones.
This is true. The prequels do have a very deliberate style. But I feel that George sucked some of the humanity out of the room while doing that.
For sure he did.
Everyone was too stoic. Even Kid Anakin and his mom, neither of them shed a tear being separated from each other at that moment. And I felt that moment. It was beautifully produced with the John Williams music surging as he walks away.
Will I ever see you again? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. She just don't look back. I mean, there's a sense of emotion there, but I don't feel the emotion there. And a lot of times Daisy will bring emotion to her performances as Rey that I can legitimately feel. I get it. I say, I know what they're going for here. I know what she's going for. It helps connect me to her character a lot more.
The first time I think we actually see tears, like real tears in a Star Wars film, I believe is Hayden in Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
I don't think, because I was thinking about this, if Carrie Fisher as Leia ever cried on screen. And I don't believe she ever did, even when the carbon freezing chamber scene in Empire.
No.
She looks glassy-eyed, but that's probably for other reasons. But but no tears.
Hayden does have a single tear run down his eyes after he's killed everyone on Mustafar, and he's just sort of standing there. He's got those Sith eyes. Doesn't he?
Yeah.
Isn't there a tear that comes
there
down
is.
his
Yeah,
eye?
Anakin's the tears coming down. Yeah,
the single tear.
Yeah, no, the first tear is before the red Sith eyes happen. He's contemplating what he's going to do. He's in Padme's apartment, and yeah.
Okay, all right. So George goes for like glassy-eyed or maybe a single tear.
Right.
But that's as far as the emotion will go. Just glassy-eyed. Could you just do, I don't know, glassy-eyed? And it's like, it's all like Hayden's plucking his nose here, trying to get there,
Yeah, no.
But like Rey legitimately, she's like crying in some scenes.
Yeah, no, she is. She is.
So I like that.
Yeah, it's very real emotion. So yeah, certainly if we get these reviews once in a while, on iTunes, they go, these guys, I like the podcast, but they just hate the sequels. They're always complaining about the sequels. They hate the sequels. There is a lot. We've talked a lot about these movies, all of the movies. And there is a lot to love, I think, about the sequels. We just ran through a list of things that we like about them. But at the end of the day, it's all about story. You can have the best cinematography, the best special effects, the best actors. We've seen that with movies other than Star Wars, obviously. But anyway, there is more news about the Rey film. Well, I shouldn't say news. This is a rumor. So entertainment reporter Daniel Richmond is saying that the Rey movie is on hold.
Okay.
Now, this is the same guy who said that Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie is on indefinite hold. So apparently, this guy, it's hard to know all of these, but I'm absolutely convinced that a lot of these influencers and people online, they've got great contacts. So I think you should definitely be open to the idea. Take it with a grain of sodium, but nonetheless, a well-sourced entertainment reporter here, Daniel Richmond, says that it's on hold. But then you got Daisy talking about it in a very recent interview with a major publication. So who knows? And here's the thing. It could be on hold and even Daisy Ridley doesn't know. I don't think that the communications channels, I mean, Gina Carano found out she was fired on social media. So I don't think that the phone necessarily rings from the C-suite there at Lucasfilm to even let principal actors know about these things.
There's some of that goes on, yeah.
I mean, look what they did to Ewan McGregor. You know, we joked about it, and poor guy was just constantly having to go on these talk shows and blatantly lie about, you know, whether or not there was going to be a Kenobi series. And he was so thrilled when it was finally announced. He's like, my God, I can actually go out on TV and not have to lie. And the crime of that was that it made it look like he was the guy that was really pushing this. Like like Lucasfilm, they didn't know whether they wanted to do this, but boy, Ewan was so desperate to get back in the role of Obi-Wan, he was going to do whatever it took. And right. So it just kind of made him look like he was begging for a gig.
Yeah, and he didn't like that. He didn't like how that rubbed off on him.
Yeah.
He's like, my career's pretty good. He's like, my career's pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't have to be lobbying or anything. I don't have to be begging. I'm Ewan McGregor, damn it.
Yeah.
But there are so many moving parts going on right now at Lucasfilm as far as the films go. It's really hard to say what's going to be next following The Mandalorian and Grogu. Another rumor has popped up this week that The Mandalorian and Grogu, that film is going to be the swan song for those two characters. It's going to be the final chapter. I find that very hard to believe. A show that was so successful. It's only 5 years old, the show.
Right.
The Mandalorian debuted in fall 2019. And it's never been in a theater before. It's never been presented to us as a major motion picture. Nobody's making any decisions on the future of The Mandalorian and Grogu beyond this film. They're going to wait to see if it's successful because this could be its own franchise. It could be a sub-franchise for Star Wars.
And they've been teasing us with this idea of a big team-up film of some sort. Now, I was hearing rumors, that Jon Favreau wanted to bring back the Holy Trinity of Han, Luke, and Leia, and they would be CGI.
Yeah,
and the rumor is that Harrison Ford isn't cool with this. So, again, take it with a grain of salt. It seems unlikely to me. I think as long as Harrison doesn't have to get up, before noon, and the money's green, I think he would be fine with it. So
I think that's what Harrison cares about the most these days. Speaking of the money being green, Hulk is usually green, but Harrison Ford is going to appear as Hulk in the next Avengers film, or it's an upcoming Marvel film. I'm not 100% sure if it's
It's a new Captain America film, isn't it?
It's a Captain America. It is. Yes, right.
Right.
So Harrison will be appearing as Red Hulk in that one. But obviously he's the guy who transforms into Red Hulk.
Yeah. I didn't even know there was a Red Hulk. This is all new to me.
Oh, really? You didn't know there was a Red Hulk?
I didn't know there was a Red Hulk. Nope.
Yeah. An entertainment reporter asked Harrison Ford, hey, did you ever think that you would be portraying a Red Hulk? And here's what Harrison had to say.
What is a Red Hulk?
And this is after he'd shot the film. He doesn't know what a Red Hulk is. What the hell is a Red Hulk?
So even when he's in these movies, he doesn't know what the hell's going on. He's so disinterested. He's just so completely uninterested in these things. You got to love it. And you know what? The movie will come out and people will be like, oh, Harrison Ford was great in that.
He was outstanding.
Yeah.
They'll say he was born for this role. What the hell is a Red Hulk? And he's obviously doing it for the paycheck. I mean, Harrison isn't going to be like, this character from the Captain America movie. I'm so inspired by this character. It really speaks to me. It's really grabbing me. I have to be this character. No, it's Harrison. Will you be in a Marvel film if we pay you $50 million? Where do I sign? I mean, that's all it comes down to. And I'm not saying Harrison is, he's obviously an artist. His career catalog speaks for itself.
I think he has passion projects. I think he still has projects that he really is committed to. But as far as, the popcorn movies, he's just he's an 80-some-year-old man. What do you think? He's sitting around reading comic books?
Sign me up for this. So Red Hulk. Red Hulk doesn't have anything to do with it, though, right? No, Harrison, you are Red Hulk. I don't care. I don't even know what the hell a Red Hulk is anyway.
With that, it seems unlikely that he would be. I don't know. It's possible. I think doing the sequel trilogy and working with Carrie again in one of her very last projects. He might be a little bit more guarded about, those characters and the way they said goodbye in those films. And maybe he's just like, I don't know, this seems like, what you just going to, because the idea was that Jon Favreau, this is the rumor, he wanted to right the wrong of the sequel trilogies and get Han, Luke, and Leia back on the Falcon again, one last time, and do that in his Mandalorian and Grogu movie. And you could do that canonically. It all works. They wouldn't be of Force Awakens age, but they would be, post Jedi. 5-6 years post Jedi.
Yeah.
And so they, I don't think it's a matter of, per se, of bringing Harrison and Mark on set, though they might. They might. I don't know. I mean, if they're just sitting down in the cockpit of the Falcon, maybe, but they didn't use Mark's body for that stuff in Mandalorian.
No, they had a guy.
They had a guy. Now Mark was on set in the costume, and I think it was more or less for some reference, especially with the other actor. But it wasn't like just changing his face. It was another body. Because you think, look what happens when you get older. I think the Irishman looks terrible at that D.H. De Niro, and he's totally, old, and he's doing like the De Niro kick, and some of the fight scenes look kind of weird. So depending on how much moving around, you probably want a younger body in there.
Yeah,
but
we are talking about Harrison Ford, though.
That's true. That's true.
He's still a thin, trim guy.
Yeah.
The way it worked out with Mark and Carrie, they sort of
they went on
let's
the
say
Hollywood
they expanded.
diet.
They expanded, but their careers didn't. That's what happened with Mark. Their careers didn't expand, but they did.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, it ain't easy getting older, folks. Let me tell you.
No.
And I think Carrie looked great. I think Mark looked great. I think Mark nowadays looks fantastic.
Oh,
he's really taken to that beard. He hated that beard.
Yes,
when
he did.
grew that beard, my God, he hated that thing. And as soon as they were done shooting The Last Jedi, that beard was in the sink. He didn't want to have anything to do with that thing. And then after The Rise of Skywalker, he started like wearing a very trimmed version of the beard.
And now that's
he's
his
grown
look.
into it.
Yeah, that's
he's
his
grown
look now.
into it.
Yeah.
That's what happens with beards. You get to a point where it starts off this like weird love-hate relationship. You love the fact that it's covering up all your old man lines on your face, but you hate the fact that it itches and. But then you get somebody gives you a good beard trimmer, and the next thing you know, it's a whole different world. And you're a beard guy now. whether you like it or not. You're
Beardy.
beard guy. Yes.
Hey, here's a guy with a
But
beard.
I mean, listen, I just want to say one last thing about this. I don't know how I feel about getting the big three reunited via CGI in the Falcon cockpit. I don't know how I feel about that.
You still
I really
processing?
don't. And it would have been cool to see them as 60-something-year-olds, or in Harrison's case, a 70-something-year-old. It would have been cool to see that. But then to take essentially the version of the big three that we're already very familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
Right.
So the aging would have been minimal.
Right.
Maybe you put a beard on Luke and put him in some Jedi robes. And Leia, she's probably dressed more like Queen Amidala,
Yeah.
Because she's not like hiding or anything anymore or fighting. She's like a queen or something, right?
Well,
Well, I guess it's hard for her to be the queen of Alderaan because Alderaan ain't there no more.
No,
But,
she's the chancellor maybe at this. No, she's not chancellor right after. She's a senator.
There's a book called Bloodlines.
I'm
which
familiar.
Explains a lot of stuff that happens post Return of the Jedi concerning Leia.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact it goes public that her father was Darth Vader.
Scandal.
Things like that she has to deal with. The political ramifications are brutal. And a lot of that stuff happens in that book. I struggle with all of the post-Disney acquisition Star Wars novels.
I think we could assume she ends up back in the Senate. She's not chancellor. I think Mon Mothma ends up chancellor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, according to the old expanded universe, that's how it worked until Mon Mothma passed away. And then Leia became the chancellor of the New Republic.
I could see that.
Obviously, the New Republic is, it suffers from a lot of the politics that brought down the Old Republic. And it's even more complicated in the post-Return of the Jedi era because you have Imperial apologists and people loyalist to the Empire still active in both the military and in the in politics. They're not like directly like. I think they round up a lot of Imperials, like post-World War II with the Nazis. The legitimate governments would then round up the war criminals. But there are others, like politicians, who were maybe sympathetic to the Empire, but not necessarily Imperials. And they grow in power in the New Republic. We see some of that in the Ahsoka show.
Yes.
I remember one of the complaints during the after show was, well, if it suffers from all the problems that the old governments had, then what's the point of it and everything? People were saying that. Or they wanted the new government to have been more advanced and evolved.
Well, I would want that too.
Traps.
I would sort of, I'm in that. I gotta say, I'm sort of in that camp because what I don't necessarily like is, you fought this major galactic civil war, and now you've got these, essentially think of them like our founding fathers. You've got your Mon Mothma and your Leia and your Han and all of these characters. And our founding fathers were very flawed. There's no question about it. But it wasn't like corrupt from the start. I mean, they were I think trying very, very hard to create and did create a great nation,
a more perfect union.
Yes,
is
it just seems like they're leaning too much into it's all corrupt. Yes, I'm sure there's corruption, but I just don't see. It just seems like they just flushed all the hope and the energy down the toilet, and within just a couple of years, they're no better off than they were. Just like, it's kind of a letdown. Well, I'm not saying it should be utopia.
I think they are better off than they were. I mean, you don't have a Death Star out there blowing up planets. So anything's an improvement from
Well,
that.
that's true, yeah. I guess the bar's pretty low, eh?
Yeah. You could be as corrupt as you want as long as you're not blowing up planets. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So yeah.
My research, by the way, on Leia, and I'm sure we'll be hearing from our listeners, but as far as canonical Leia post Jedi, there's nothing more specific than her becoming a respected leader and being deeply involved in the formation of the new government. So no, I'm not seeing any titles. I was saying, I think she was a senator. I don't think that's the case. And then, of course, she becomes the leader of the resistance.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, she does give up her training to be a mom. Essentially, she decides to have children rather than continue to
we know that.
Train in the Force. So, you could say that she probably gave up a lot to raise a family, or try to.
See, that's the stuff I think you want to explore when you're doing a sequel trilogy based on these beloved characters. By including them, you have to give the audience what they want. What do we want as an audience when we see Han, Luke, and Leia in the sequel trilogy? We want to know what the hell they've been up to for the last 30 years. We want to know, where their heads are at. Instead, in the sequel trilogies, we got introduced to these characters that seem like they devolved.
Yeah.
I mean, they were all like right back at square one. Han was a smuggler with Chewbacca. Leia was leading a rebellion. And Luke was isolated somewhere on a planet, cut off from the Force. I mean, that's essentially how Star Wars begins. I think we were all desiring so much more growth from these characters as opposed to just pushing them back to square one. It makes me sad to think about this. It
is. It was disappointing. There's no question. But I think it's more disappointing now in retrospect, even than it was in the moment, because we thought with each new film, we thought, there could be redemption here, or there could be, there's a reason for this. But at the end of the day, it didn't seem like there was that much of a reason. I think the thing that really baffles me is it's okay, fine. Pick Han or Luke to make a deadbeat and a disappointment. But both of them? Why'd they both have to be disappointing deadbeats? I don't understand that at all.
Han was a terrible influence on Luke.
I guess so.
Luke's like, well, if Han doesn't care, I don't care.
I care.
Boom.
Yeah.
I know. It was I don't care.
Yeah, right.
Han doesn't
I don't care.
I don't care. I don't know, kid. Do you think a princess and a guy like me? Yeah, I do, actually. I do. Like, everything's turned on its head. Yeah, I do.
It's like the Lego show we just watched last week, where everything, is deconstructed. Hey, how about this story about Keanu Reeves? Do you know how close we came to Keanu Reeves being in Star Wars? He was going to be in. He was going to be in The Acolyte. Can you believe this?
Well, we were getting wind of these rumors prior to The Acolyte, like when they were shooting it.
Did we talk about this?
Yeah.
About Keanu Reeves being in it.
Yeah.
It's all a blur.
There was a buzz floating around. It's all rumor.
Right.
It's all rumor. But it sort of makes sense. You to have Keanu Reeves in Star Wars, that could present some amazing opportunities. So Jeff Snyder says that this is just recently, within the last few weeks, Jeff reported that Keanu Reeves was under consideration for the role of Jedi Master Saul.
Oh, so not just a cameo.
Saul.
We're talking about he was going to be the anchor. He was going to be the lead actor for this thing.
He was going to be Saul.
Wow.
The role which eventually went to Lee Jung-jae. But apparently what had happened was that Reeves was interested in the role. It was pitched to him, but he ran into a scheduling snafu with filming a John Wick spinoff, which I think has Ana de Armas in it. I think it's called Ballerina. And
I didn't know he was in it too.
It's a cameo, I don't even know if you could call it a supporting role, from what I understand. But it just couldn't. The studios just couldn't work around it.
So he gave up a lead role in a Star Wars for a cameo in a spinoff of his John Wick.
Well, I
could
mean,
be contractual too.
He was already under contract.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
He was already under contract. And there were earlier rumors that we heard last summer, I think, that Reeves was being considered to play the role of Darth Revan in The Acolyte, which obviously didn't happen. And then other people were saying that he had already shot his scenes.
Huh.
But so what, they were scrapped or what? No, he didn't shoot anything. So I just want to put to bed those rumors, which may have been out there.
He kind of got Remington Steeled. Like he thinks he's going to go off and do Star Wars, and then they call him back in for a John Wick, and it's just a cameo.
I don't think it went that far. I don't think it was something where he had agreed to it. It was something that was pitched to him, and he said, "No, I can't do it because I have this John Wick thing that I am obligated to shoot." And
that was it, probably, right? That's as far as it went.
I've been working with these John Wick guys for years now, and they're buddies of mine now. And it's a smaller studio. This isn't Disney we're talking about. I don't know who does the John Wick. It is a smaller studio. And, probably for them, it's very difficult to upend everything. And Reeves probably understands that. He doesn't want to screw over his buddies, his John Wick gang.
I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm sitting, and I'm not I don't know the John Wick movies other than by name. So I'm just sitting here going, I'd rather be in a Star Wars, but he's Keanu Reeves.
Right.
He's Keanu Reeves.
And so it was probably left at, man, I sure would like to be in Star Wars someday, though. So you tell those guys to, shoot me down in the future and let's do something. Let's make it happen. Let's plan it out.
Let's have a meeting.
Have any conflicts? Maybe. Maybe.
That's how they do that stuff in Hollywood, I hear.
So there's some potential for a future Keanu Reeves appearance in a Star Wars production of some sort, but he could have been in The Acolyte. True. He could have been in The Acolyte. Would that have saved the show? It probably would have got many more eyeballs onto it.
It would
outside of the hardcore fan base.
He's a very beloved actor. I mean, people really. I think he's got a good reputation as a person, and those John Wick movies have really done a lot for his career as it got later. But I mean, The Matrix and Bill and Ted and all that stuff. So I definitely think that it would have certainly. There's a lot of Keanu Reeves fans out there. Plus the curiosity factor. Whoa, Keanu Reeves in Star Wars. I got to see this. There wasn't any I got to see this moments, in the lead up to The Acolyte.
No, there were no notable personalities cast in any roles outside of Keanu's Matrix co-star, Carrie Ann Moss.
Right.
And I think that might have been an attraction to him as well. Hey, I got to work with Carrie again.
Mm-hmm.
This sounds kind of cool. Oh, but I just looked at my calendar and the John Wick guys need me there that week. And I don't want to screw those guys over. I love those John Wick guys. They're my buddies. So maybe someday in the future we can do something. But The Acolyte suffered greatly from lack of star power.
Yeah.
It really did.
It could have made a difference. And as you say, get more eyeballs on it out of the gate. I mean, the end result would have still been the end result. But
I I think that's something that could have hurt the Solo film as well. No star power at all attached to that film.
Woody Harrelson?
Come on.
I mean,
Since when is Woody a big box office draw? He's known for White Men Can't Jump, among other things. I don't mean to diminish Woody Harrelson or his career. I'm just saying he's not exactly what I think of as an A-lister.
Really?
When you look at
I kind of do. Am I a Woody apologist?
Harrelson an A-lister? Maybe a B-lister, but not an A-lister. A-lister is Keanu Reeves. A-lister is Brad Pitt. A-lister is Samuel L. Jackson. There ain't no A-listers in The Acolyte or in the Solo film.
I'm gonna
Chewbacca.
say
Chewbacca is the A-lister.
I'm gonna say I think Woody Harrelson is more of an A-lister than Keanu Reeves.
No way. No way. I mean, if you want to match up their box office takes, I'm sure Keanu probably hammers Woody.
I don't know. Woody did all those. He did the whole Mockingbird saga. What the hell was that?
Was that Twilight or something?
No, not Twilight.
I don't know. I don't know any.
Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about. The Mockingbird, Mockingjay, whatever. And he's already been in Star Wars and the Indecent Proposal and the Larry Flint movie and the Oscar nomination. And I don't know. I feel, and what was the series that he did, the cop show that was super popular, limited, I think, for HBO Max. I feel like I'm with you in the sense that it's like, what has he done lately? But I still feel like if there's going to be a big Hollywood party, Woody's going to show up. He's going to be there. Keanu's he's more reclusive and he's very particular about, what he does. And until this John Wick thing, I mean, he was kind of a has-been. Like between Matrix, between Matrix and the John Wick, Keanu Reeves, I think, was kind of, he was kind of yesterday's news.
All right. Can I present to you the bottom lines in both men's careers? Woody Harrelson, famous for Solo. Keanu Reeves, famous for almost being in The Acolyte. Woody Harrelson's now listen, one thing I will say this is some of these Woody Harrelson numbers surprise me. As a leading actor, he has that credit in 32 roles, 32 films.
Mm-hmm.
Those films have brought in $2,078 million.
We're talking Woody, right?
Yeah. 200 trillion. It's a big number, man. So he's over $2 trillion. I've never said a number like this before.
Yeah.
2,078,059,738 dollars. So
and how many
over
cents? That's such a specific number.
Oh my God, that's the biggest number I ever said. So that ranks him all time at number 118.
Okay.
So
I didn't even know these rankings existed. I'm fascinated by this. Okay. So Woody is number 118. Using the same metrics, where do we find Keanu?
Okay. Keanu has been leading actor in 43 films. So 11 more films than Woody.
Yeah.
And those films combined have brought in almost $4 trillion.
Oh, wow. I'm
ranking
shocked.
Keanu Reeves number 49.
Holy cow. Wow. I stand corrected.
But also I stand corrected too, because Woody Harrelson, $2 trillion is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah.
And that ranks him at number 118 all-time box office. So when you think about the history of Hollywood, and well, you have to think modern Hollywood because we're talking such huge numbers. So
right.
Actors from the past 30 years, There's been a lot of leading men in Hollywood. A lot. And for Woody to rank at 118, I would say that may put him in A-list category.
Okay. Who's number one,
Maybe.
by the way?
I think that might be Harrison Ford. We'll have to look it up. I'm using as my source a website called The Numbers. So they got the numbers. So
Harrison Ford, yeah. You called him Harrelson Ford, by the way, which I thought was kind of funny. So yeah,
I said Harrelson?
You did, because you were talking about Woody Harrelson, and then you switched gears into talking about Harrison Ford, so I can understand you making that mistake.
I called him Harrelson Ford.
Yeah, Harrelson Ford.
Now that's a guy who should have been in Solo. All right. Woody. All right. All-time box office leading men. Bada bing. So, now here's your A-list, okay?
Yeah.
Highest grossing actors. Samuel L. Jackson at over $14.6 trillion.
Wow.
For his 66 films. Now, this isn't just leading men. This list includes leading roles and lead ensemble roles, including voice acting.
Voice acting, I got to give it an ensemble. So like Sam Jackson for Pulp Fiction. He's going to have the Pulp Fiction money.
Well, in the Avengers movies, the Endgame, all of that stuff. I mean, those are the biggest movies of all time.
So he's number one. Sam Jackson's number one.
Sam is number one.
Wow.
Followed by everyone else from the Avengers.
Yeah, I would
Scarlett
guess so.
Johansson, Robert Downey Jr. Our lone guy, our non-Marvel guy in the group, unless he snuck into a Marvel film and I wasn't looking, is Tom Cruise at number 6. His films brought in over 12 trillion.
It's astonishing to me, as I love Samuel L., don't get me wrong, but I never would have guessed that he was number one all-time box office champ actor.
You want to hear a list that really blows minds? How about all roles, including cameos, voice acting, any appearance made in a movie?
Okay.
There's one guy at the top of the list. He was in 50 films. But I don't even think you could consider him to be an actor at all. That man has brought in over $30 trillion.
Holy
$30.6 trillion box office. And he's not even an actor.
He's not even an actor.
No.
He's a voiceover guy?
He's not an actor. Okay.
I have no guesses.
Stan Lee, with all those little cameos he made throughout those Marvel movies, puts him at the top.
Marvel thing comes back. What the hell? Stan Lee.
Worldwide. Stan Lee. Worldwide.
Wow.
Now, if you want to talk old school, actors who appeared in films up until the year 2000. Number 1, Clark Gable. Number 2, John Wayne. Number 3, Bing Crosby. Number 4, Jimmy Stewart. And number 5, Cary Grant. So all the classics, the Hollywood superstars from the day. Rounding out the list at number 6, Spencer Tracy. 7, Gary Cooper. 8, Mickey Rooney, the Mick. And then a more contemporary guy amongst all of these Hollywood legends is at number 9, Harrison Ford.
Oh, so Harrison. Wow, that's very fitting, though, that Harrison is on that list, because I consider him to be part of that legacy of Hollywood leading men all the way, including guys like Gable and Bogart and Jimmy Stewart and all of that. So,
number 3 on the list of all roles, the one that Stan Lee is at number 1 on.
Yeah.
Number 3 is our friend from Empire Strikes Back, Cliff Clavin from Cheers, John Ratzenberger.
Oh, he's got Toy Story money.
$18.2 trillion. Toy Story, Inside Out. The latest Inside Out film was a huge
I didn't know he was in the Inside Outs. He's in those too.
Yeah.
So he's done, I think, the majority of the Pixar films, even if it's just a small role. He's in all of those. Wow, talk about a fascinating rabbit trail that was.
Yeah, really. It's something I'd never even considered researching.
What a fun website. I got to go on there. I could get lost for hours looking at websites like that.
The numbers.
The numbers.
So, yeah, we some wild numbers right there.
Rebel Force Radio.
All right, so this was pretty funny. This was cool. I'm glad that you saw this, Jim. I was happy when this showed up on the rundown because I saw it and I'm like, should I send that to you? And you'd be like, it's real short or whatever. But you know what? A George sighting out in the wild is a George sighting out in the wild. And this looks to be relatively recent, I would think.
You know what? It happened August 2023. So it's been out there for a little while, but it's taken this little slice, this nugget of fun, a whole year to reach our desk. But Jason, you found it. You sent it out to the Jedi Council. So we all had chuckles looking at this brief encounter with a Star Wars legend.
How you doing, Mr. Lucas? It's good seeing a person like you at the zoo. What's one of the best things to see at the zoo? Nothing. All right, thanks.
No. George just looks at the guy. No.
George, charming as always. You just wanted to ask him, what's your favorite thing to see at the zoo? George, no.
Yeah. This comes from us, from TikToker 20G Colin. And I looked at a lot of his videos. He's made something of a hobby out of being this ninth-rate TMZ type guerrilla interviewer, who just sabotages people out in public. George is at the zoo. What zoo? I don't know. Some undisclosed zoo, but there he is. That's the real George Lucas, no question about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's cruising the zoo. And listen to this guy when he approaches the George. He goes, "Hi, Mr. Lucas. It's so interesting to see people like you at the zoo." And then he gets like giddy. You hear it in his voice. He's going,
"Oh, yeah."
George Lucas. George Lucas. He gets like that. He starts getting like that.
All right, now I want to hear it again.
You'll hear
I want to play it again.
Yeah. It's good to see you at the zoo.
How you doing, Mr. Lucas? It's good seeing a person like you at the zoo. What's one of the best things to see at the zoo? Nothing. No. All right, thanks.
No.
Guy's got his phone right up in George's face. George walks right up there. No. It's like if George Lucas, this is his version of, you ever see football games, college, NFL, running back, he's got the ball, he's cruising down the sideline, defender comes running at him, and the running back sticks his hand up and just stiff arms the guy right to the ground.
This was the George Lucas stiff arm.
This was a George Lucas stiff arm, and it was done just so effortlessly and just with such certainty. George looked at this guy right away and said, "I am not talking to this son of a
No. Wow.
Let's hear it one more time. I got to see it one more time. Let's see the stiff arm.
It's good seeing a person like you at the zoo. What's one of the best things to see at the zoo? Nothing. All right.
George even shakes his head. No.
You're right.
No. That's how he probably was at like Lucasfilm, walking the hallways. Somebody comes up, George, can you please sign off? No.
Boy.
George, some guys are in your outer office. They want to. No. George, the guys from Rebel Force Radio are here. No. No.
Look at this hair, though. Look at the
perfect.
hair on this man.
So
at his
amazing.
age is just, it's incredible. I mean, it hasn't receded a bit. How's it possible?
It's gotten thicker.
I think it has. I think this man has grown hair when every other man loses it.
What's his secret?
I don't know.
It says no. It's just like every time he says that, his hair gets a little thicker.
Secret is
for every denial he gives, every negative response, every time he slams the door shut in your face, every time he stiff arms another amateur reporter at the zoo. No. There's this guy, I think he is TMZ. But I did look at his TikTok, and I don't mean to disparage him. He seems like a really nice guy. But he has made something of a pastime out of hanging out at street curbs in front of hotels and other big-time events, stalking politicians and celebrities or whatever. This one, I think he just happened to be at the zoo the same time George Lucas was and jumped into his reporter mode. And, that stiff arm, he's still feeling it.
Who goes to a zoo by themselves? Like did George have anybody with him? I didn't see like security. The kids. I didn't see, okay, but that's essentially like going by yourself. It's not like he asks his security guard, "Hey, you want to go to the zoo tomorrow?" Like,
maybe he does.
Maybe he does.
He appreciates their company. He appreciates their company because they don't ask him a bunch of stupid questions
about Star Wars.
Like, what do you like to see at the zoo?
Well, what else are you going to ask him when you see him at the zoo? You want to keep it relevant. You don't want to ask him about, will you ever go back to directing Star Wars?
I would have said, hey, were you checking out elephants? Remember when you dressed up an elephant as a bantha and had sand people ride it? The original Star Wars? Remember, George? Shot that out in Death Valley? Are you here scouting out some new elephants? Got a secret project in the works? No. But George, no.
Oh, wow. George
Remember
never
how they made
disappoints.
Chewbacca's growl out of seals and bears? No. No animals.
Oh, I see how you would have kept it very Star Wars-y, but still in the whole zoo milieu.
I was looking at an animal earlier today, George, that would have made a perfect bantha. You could just tell this elephant had the right demeanor. You could put all that crap on it and a saddle and some sand people running around it. They'll love it.
How you doing, Mr. Lucas?
What do you think, George?
It's good seeing a person like you at the zoo.
Oh, I was just trying to scrub to the no part. I think we might need to isolate that no.
I don't think it's very clean. There's a lot of sound in there and stuff. But I think
I like our version better.
Yeah.
No.
No. Well, come on, Mr. Lucas. No.
Yeah, he's kind of, what is he? He's all of a sudden, he's Otis from the Superman movie. Come on, Mr. Lucas. All right,
that's what the guy kind of sounds like.
He kind of does.
How you doing, Mr. Lucas?
All right, how about we do one of these?
No.
It's unthinkable.
All right. Look, when I started having kids, I too wanted to name them after a Star Wars character. I tried to sneak Ayla, Aayla. I tried to sneak that one in. And the wife considered it for a short time. And then she goes, "Wait a minute. Isn't there the blue Jedi that's named Ayla?" And I'm like, "What? I don't know."
The one who's basically wearing nothing.
Yeah. Ayla was thrown out. Now, ironically, well, I shouldn't say ironic, coincidentally, she remembers this because my very first Star Wars celebration was Star Wars Celebration 3 in Indianapolis. I didn't even know Jimmy Mack back then. Wasn't even doing Star Wars podcasts. And I went with Pete Nadel, and we brought my wife and my wife's best friend that would later end up being Mrs. Pete Nadel. And they got stuck in the lobby while Pete and I were doing something, and they ended up meeting Amy Allen, Ayla Sakura. And while Pete and I were doing something in the lobbies, we totally missed this. And they're like, hey, guess who we just met? We just met, what's her name? The Amy Allen, the Ayla, what's the Ayla? Oh, Ayla Sakura. You just met Ayla Sakura when our backs are turned? So I think that's what Deborah remembered. So when I suggested Ayla, she was like, I don't know. I don't think so. But anyway, this is a cautionary tale because if you go around naming your children after Star Wars characters, it could end up with some ramifications here. This is from the New Zealand Herald. Yeah.
Ramifications.
A boy named after Star Wars character is denied a passport. Yeah. He was denied a passport because of copyright infringement. You know what the boy's name is?
What's that?
Skywalker. Yeah. The government organization refused the application for the boy due to copyright issues. An email to the parents stated the refusal was because his name contained a name which, quote, relates to a trademark or copyright. Now, the family claims they were told to remove the name Skywalker or get this. They're getting a passport for the kid. You live in New Zealand. I mean, of course you're going to need a passport. You got to, got to get out of New Zealand eventually.
You go to Australia.
Yeah, go to Australia. So you need a passport. So they said that you either need to remove the name, which how do you remove the person's actual name? It's not like it's a nickname or something. It's his actual birth name. Or get permission from Disney.
Oh, my God.
Imagine that.
Like that would ever happen. Disney would not even pick up those calls.
Mr. Iger?
Remember, this makes me think of that sad story when a couple lost a child and it was, a terrible situation, obviously. And the child loved Winnie the Pooh. Or one of the Disney characters. Could have been Mickey Mouse or something. I think it was Winnie the Pooh.
I remember this.
And that's owned by Disney.
Yeah.
And they wanted to feature the image of Winnie the Pooh on the child's tombstone.
Yeah.
And Disney, flat out refused it. And that's, parents going through the biggest nightmare that anybody could possibly go through.
Right.
But Disney also worries about graveyards across the world being peppered with their IP.
Sure.
And so I sort of see where they're coming from on that. I think the couple should have just done it anyway and not asked.
Yeah.
That's my advice to you kids out there.
But you know what?
Ask.
If you take, and I know this from experience, if you take a picture from your kid's favorite cartoon and you go to a bakery and you say, hey, could you put this on the cake?
Yeah.
They're going to go, nope, can't do it.
Oh, let me show you something here. I got just within arm's reach.
Wow, look at this.
This is a magnet that I handed out to Rebel Force Radio supporters who joined us in Florida for one of the years when we were hosting a Star Wars Weekends event. So the magnet people wouldn't let me put Mickey Mouse with a lightsaber on the magnets. So I came up with this. It's just a silhouette of Mickey Mouse.
Smart.
And the
magnet people said no.
Right.
Well, and everybody knows what that is. I think that's even cooler than if it was the actual non-shadowed Mickey.
If you saw the Mickey Mouse art, though, you would, it was kind of heartbreaking. It was really nice artwork. But we were just handing them out. It wasn't.
Yeah,
it wasn't
right.
anything. But it was the magnet company which said, "No way, Jose! I'm not barking up Disney's tree."
Here's what the parents said. The parents gave the Jimmy Magnet argument because they said they never imagined that their son's name could be an issue. And while they did know at the time they named him that it was a copyrighted name, they weren't using it for personal gain. There was no profit.
Right. Right.
And a lot of times, if these things go to court, you have to show loss. You have to show that you as a brand or a company has experienced some sort of loss. Now, a lot of the times, most of the time, these things don't go to court because these lawyers scare the hell out of people. But if they did go to court, Disney would have to prove that that boy being named Skywalker somehow caused them financial loss. But anyway, so it's still unresolved. The poor family had to cancel their holiday, very disheartened by the thought of changing their son's name. They decided rather than change his name, they were just going to cancel their vacation.
Jeez.
Several days after, Suffolk News approached the Home Office for comment on the story, and the Mowbrays received an email stating a passport would be issued for their son, but had been delayed. So they are now anticipating their vacation along with their other children. Ready for these names?
Yes.
Casey and Willow.
Casey. And Willow.
Willow.
Well,
again. But you know what?
I don't know.
I don't think something tells me that the New Zealand government is not going to have any trouble issuing the passport to Willow because no one cares.
Right. That's a tree. I'm just worried in my situation. My name is James, and that's taken straight from the Bible.
Wow.
So who's going to come back? Who's going to start enforcing trademark laws on me? I think the big guy is going to come down here in a bolt of lightning and make me change my name to Skywalker.
Well, this couple in New Zealand, I think they learned their lesson. But all's well that ends well. It sounds like eventually the government decided that they would go ahead and issue the passport. So vacation is back on. And we've met many folks, listeners of the show that have named their kids, Han, Luke. There's a lot of Lukes out there. That's the first Skywalker that I've ever heard. So apparently that's a hell of a first name. So his name
I met a
would be
kid at Star Wars Celebration years ago whose name was Darth Vader. That was his actual name. And I'm like, wow, man, I thought I was hardcore.
Chewie, get us out of here!
Oh, that's going to wrap things up for us here this week on the program. Thanks so much for hanging with us. We'll get to the Star Wars and pop culture. That's the beauty of Star Wars and pop cultures. They're evergreen. And we got some good ones. We got some good ones. So we'll get to those. But a lot of fun just chilling, spinning yarns, talking about Star Wars. It's been a great time.
Yarns
Hope you
were
enjoyed
spun.
yourself. What's that?
Yards were spun. Or yarns.
Indeed they were.
Yarns.
Indeed they were. And we
yarns
learned.
were spun.
What did we learn this week, kids? We learned that Samuel L. Jackson is not only the baddest mother, but he's also all-time box office champ when it comes to Hollywood leading men. That's pretty awesome. Good on Sam. Yeah, we'll be back next week. More Rebel Force Radio. There's always more Rebel Force Radio at Patreon. We heard us talking about it a little bit ago. Patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio, where you will find the weekly full show video if you're at the all access tier. Exclusive podcasts that you can't find anywhere else, like the aforementioned RFR Q&A, the Babu Freaks. I also, RPG is out there too, and that's Jimmy Mack and Tyler Page. And who else is in that crew playing the role-playing game?
Matt Rashid. RFR VIP. Matt Rashid. He was a very entertaining
Podcastus. Move over, Cal Kestis. This is Podcastus.
That's right.
Which has got to be one of the greatest names ever. That's phenomenal. But in addition, it's a great community of Star Wars fans. The best, in my opinion, that you can hang out with anywhere online. That's over at patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio. Our YouTube channel, please check us out over on YouTube and give us a thumbs up, give us a like, give us a follow over there. And something that YouTube seems to really care about are comments on the videos. And so if you're watching one of our videos, you throw a comment, that would be helpful. But I got to tell you, I think YouTube's a little misguided about this because I watch a ton of YouTube, subscribe to a lot of channels, and I don't leave comments because I'm always watching it on my TV. How am I going to leave a comment when I'm watching it on TV? I can barely figure out how to give it the old thumbs up on my Apple TV remote. So I hope they look at that and they're figuring out their algorithms. Leave a comment. But if you're on a computer or a phone or an iPad or something like that, leave a comment. We appreciate it. You can also follow us on all of the socials. We're on Facebook. We are on X. We are on Instagram at RFR Rebel Force on X and at Rebel Force Radio everywhere else. The official website, rebelforceradio.com. We'd love to have you subscribe to the podcast if you're a podcatcher of choice, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify allows you to do so. Please subscribe. Please leave us a review. We read them all. And we have one very simple rule, please.
Make them good.
So that'll do it for us this week. We will see you next time here for more Rebel Force Radio. If you've got a Star Wars and pop culture or an outrageous, unthinkable story, you can always email it to us, show@rebelforceradio.com. Keep in touch. Love to hear from you. Until next week, for Rebel Force Radio, I'm Jason.
I'm Jimmy Mack.
And remember,
The Force will be with you, always.
What is a red Hulk?